Hi everyone, my name is Abby Nenninger and I did my paper on why athletes shouldn't be able to be offered by college coaches until September 1st of their junior year. So think back to when you were picking a college. Most of you were probably seniors, some of you may have been even juniors, but think back to your sophomore, freshman, or even eighth grade year. Can you imagine picking a college that young? Most of you would probably say no and that it's insane, which is exactly my point. It's unreasonable because some colleges actually expect athletes to make a decision on whether or not they want to go to their school at that young of age. So there's a lot of choices to make based on a lot of different factors when you're choosing a school. So a lot of you probably chose based on like tuition or location or if they have your major or not. Athletes have a lot more to consider. So, for example, do we like the coach, the team, the atmosphere, winning record, conference? Do they have the scholarship, your position? Will you redshirt? The facilities. There's so many factors to consider. So, more factors can include things such as like personal ambition. For example, when I was in seventh grade, I said I want to play Division One volleyball when I'm older, and I never set my sights lower. Another influence can be your parents. Some people depend heavily on their parents' opinions. And so, not only does the coach have to win the player over, but they also have to win the parents over. So the NCAA has a lot of rules, a lot of specific rules. Um, it's crazy to think, but there are ways around them. There's clean ways and there's dirty ways. Not a lot of schools choose the dirty route because it can give a bad reputation or just stuff along that lines, like they wouldn't be very trustworthy if they cheat in the rules. Um, but there are a lot of clean ways around it that are legal. One example of this is a coach cannot start talking to an athlete until June 15th after the athlete's sophomore year. So, a simple way around it is they can contact the athlete through a club coach, a high school coach. They can invite them to a camp and talk to them there. As long as the athlete is on the college's home turf, they're able to speak. So the NCAA stands for the National Collegiate Athletic Association, and basically they are there to keep rules in place, to keep teams in line. Basically just to make sure no one's, breaking the rules or anything. So then everyone is playing a fair game. So I'm going to mention my own experience really quick because this is a good example. So I entered the recruiting process in seventh grade when a D2 contacted me through my club coach. So my sophomore year, I played with a girl who she was a senior. Um, so she was committed to Green Bay. The coaches saw me; they really liked me, and they were contacting me through my club coach. I went to camps, stuff of the sorts, and junior year they offered. I was in love with the school. I thought it was perfect for me. My parents made me wait to make a decision. I wasn't too happy about it at the time, but I respected it. So throughout my junior year, I went on a lot of visits, and I had a lot to consider until I went to Oakland, and it was beyond perfect for me. So again, my parents made me wait to make absolutely sure that I wanted this, and I committed. So this is a good example because if I would have committed young, I would have ended up going to the wrong school. It wasn't good for me. Obviously, I figured it out, um, but I wouldn't have found Oakland, and I'm completely happy here. I love all the people here. I love the team here. I love the coaches. Everything about it fits me. So there is a time period where a coach or a player could pull out if they wanted to. So this time period is when you are verbally committed but not signed. So you first sign your senior year. So for example, I committed mid-July after my junior year, and I signed November my senior year. So that's a pretty short time period. But others, if they commit really, really early, then they have a large time period. It's actually a couple of years. Um, so basically, in this time period, a player or a coach could pull out, which is scary. Um, so if a player were to pull out, a coach would have to find a player in the same year, scholarship situation, position, maybe even redshirt situation in, a short time period. They're just kind of left hanging. So same goes for if a coach pulls out. So basically, when you commit, you end your recruiting process. You decline your other offers, you cut off contact with other colleges. So if a college were to pull out on you, then you have to re-enter or something to the sorts, or maybe try and talk to schools that you were talking to previously. But again, you could be left hanging as well. There has been an interesting realization, and that is that there's an increasing amount of transfers occurring. Um, Not only are they just transfers, but these are also transfers of girls who committed uh, before their freshman year. So it's just telling you that even if they make it through the time period where they're committed but not signed, they sign, they go there 1, 2, even 3 years. Some even go 4 years and redshirt somewhere else. Um, there is a chance that they still made the wrong decision and they need to transfer because they committed too early. I interviewed my head volleyball coach here at Oakland, Rob Beam, for this project. NCAA rules are a huge part of his job as well as recruiting. So he was a very knowledgeable resource. So basically, we discussed what pros and cons there are to both players and coaches for committing early. We also discussed that NCAA is talking about making rules stricter and aligning dates more so that the talking period, unofficial and official visits are more in line. So it's going in the direction that I would like. So Rob and I talked about what the pros and cons are about offering early. And we also talked about NCAA and if there's talk of moving towards a date that a coach can actually offer an athlete. And he mentioned that they are moving towards stricter rules and they'll probably eventually get to that, but they're not there yet. I believe that college coaches should have to wait until September 1st of the athlete's junior year in order to offer. I hope you learned a lot from this topic that probably isn't talked about a lot, and I hope you enjoyed.